Thanks for having me on here. I'm really excited to share my story because it's not that uncommon, and yet, a lot of people in my position don't really know what's going on with their veins, and, so I feel like I've been fortunate to have great care, so thank you for that.
So for the vein docs out there, Traci presented with about a 10-year history of leg swelling on flights, to her various competitions. And she takes one day off a week and mentioned how she would have some leg symptoms and swelling. And she has a very strong family history. Both her mother and father have advanced vein disease. And so we did an ultrasound. And ultrasound showed peri-GSV, or around the greater saphenous vein edema, from the ankle right up to the mid-calf. She had what we term half-plus pitting. She had a bit of pitting at her ankles, and full-on abnormally enlarged greater saphenous veins with reflux. Other than that, to look at her legs, she's got perfect legs. I mean, she's an elite athlete.
I remember the first time that I traveled, about when I was 20 years old. I went to Europe, and I remember I slept a lot on the plane, so I wasn't really getting up, moving around that often. And I get off the plane, and everybody else is fine. And my ankles, it looked like I probably weighed 350 pounds, right? And my friends are laughing at me, but I'm like, what? And it was so uncomfortable, and it lasted for about 3 days, So I thought, oh, okay, next time I'm on a plane, I know it's common to get swelling. It was probably something I did because I didn't get up and move around that much. So I told myself, okay, next time just remember to get up and move around a plane because this is normal, this is common. So, and I kept having different experiences like that. Or I thought, like the day that I did take off from training, I thought, oh, well, maybe my body's just so used to training that a day off just feels so different. But usually a day off of training, you should feel more fresh the next day. I would always feel, I wouldn't feel fresh the next day. I felt like I was sluggish, that I hadn't really recovered that well. So when I came into your office and you're explaining, like, no, actually, you have vein failure or vein disease, and these are the issues going on. For me, it was really enlightening because I had an understanding of why these things were happening, versus thinking, oh, I must have done something wrong, or it's because of my training, and I'm just really thankful that not only will this hopefully help me with all my processes of, one of my goals is to be playing not only at the top elite level of the FIVB, but also make it to the 2024 Olympics and possibly beyond. So for me, it's like, wow, I'm so thankful that I was able to find this out now, and, be able to get the foam therapy and get my veins treated so that moving forward, not only can I maybe recover better, but, even as I get older and become more of an adult after sports, being able to have healthy legs and be as vital and active as I can be for the rest of my life.
Yeah, why don't you tell us how compression's made a difference in your life, in your competing?
Yeah, so I've noticed the effects of compression pants specifically because that's what I started off wearing. I noticed that probably 5 years before I ever found out about vein disease. I would wear compression pants, I could train high volume, and you know what, I would feel not that bad afterwards, versus if I just wore, I played beach volleyball, so if I just wore a bathing suit or wore like shorts or something, I noticed a big difference in the compression pants and training. Just feeling, for me, the feeling is I felt lighter and less heavy in my legs.
But now you're wearing medical grade graduated compression, right?
Right, yeah.
Juzo, MediUSA, CEP. Thank you to those companies for helping Traci, and so that's helping you too.
Right, absolutely.
Why don't you tell us a little bit more about your aspirations and where you're headed and your trademark? I know you have an interesting trademark phrase.
Oh yeah. So, I started playing beach volleyball in 2012 at the professional level, and I quit in 2000 and early in 2015 to go coach at Florida State University. So I actually lived in Tallahassee for about a year, and after that, I was kind of just moving around and doing some random stuff. I got out of volleyball, and I came back into volleyball with a vengeance, and with realizing that I don't, not everything. A lot of things are temporary, right? We sometimes think we have so much time, and we don't. So if we're gonna do something, like it's really important that we fully commit to it, and completely invest, right? So that was a big lesson that I had to learn, and along the way, I realized it's not just about me and pursuing my career, but so I kind of created this catchphrase, but it's elevate the game, elevate the planet. And the whole point of that is as you elevate, not yourself, as you invest in yourself and you elevate your game, whatever that may look like, it's going to encourage other people to rise up with you and elevate their game as well. It's like lazy creates lazy, but excellence creates excellence. So, everything that you do, if you're doing it to pursue a high level, it will bring up the people around you.
So there's four things that we assess when we assess a potential patient with vein disease. One is their symptoms. What kind of symptoms are they having? Itching, aches, pains, restless legs, night cramps, ankle swelling. What's going on? In Miss Traci, of course, she had some swelling and some discomfort on her off days, and a long history of swelling on plane flights, and she just wasn't feeling right on her off days. The second thing we assess is the physical exam. Now, on Traci, you can look at her legs, she's got perfect legs. You can't tell just by looking, but when we palpated her legs, you could definitely appreciate that she had some ankle swelling. The third thing that we do is an ultrasound, and an ultrasound shows objective evidence for vein disease. It includes, we look at the size of the veins and then the flow direction, and her veins were too big and the flow was going the wrong way. We could also appreciate some edema or swelling around her veins in her lower leg. The fourth thing that we assess is a hose trial. We put people in a pair of high quality, measured, fitted, graduated compression hose and assess how they feel. And generally, even if someone has marginal improvement in hose, it pretty much indicates or strongly suggests that they have vein disease. And of course, in Traci, she had a long history of feeling better in compression. What we did for her procedure was what we do a lot of around here at Vein 911, which was thermal ablation of her great saphenous vein, and then we picked off her tributary veins and large refluxing veins with ultrasound-guided foam sclerotherapy. And that's what we did for Traci. And Traci, why don't you tell us your experience with that?
Yeah, it was really easy. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm somebody who I train nonstop year round. So, the thought of getting a vein treatment at first, I didn't know kind of what the recovery was going to look like for that. But you basically told me, the doctor's orders is to go for a walk. So that was pretty funny for me. And so, yeah, it was very simple, really non-invasive, not painful at all. And quite interesting to watch the foam therapy through the ultrasound screen. I thought that was interesting. But I think 2 days later I hopped on a plane and went back to everything I was doing. And throughout the following weeks and months, I would feel like sometimes like a little bit of tenderness, which felt more like a bruise, or I would feel maybe like a slight bump. And then a couple times I reached out, she said like, "Hey, is this?" And you're like, "Oh, that's really normal. That's just the vein as it's kind of being removed by the body through the natural process." So, it was a really simple process, and I need to get my other leg done too, so I'm going to head out there soon, hopefully, to see you for that. It was quite simple. So anybody who maybe doesn't have that much time or is worried about the recovery process. I mean, there really is no recovery process. It's just, the next day you're good to go.
Fantastic. Traci, we really appreciate your time and your willingness to share your story. We really, really, truly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Kevin. It's great to be here.